hope my boobs are big enough for this review.
Ladies first.
Open the tube!
Put it down!
It's your finger that's pulling this trigger.
You messed with the wrong family.
I'm Lindsay, and this is my review for Tomb Raider. I was pretty excited about this movie. I grew up playing all the Tomb Raider games from the original up to now. My favorite thing to do was to find the cheat codes after I'd played through them, and I would use the cheat codes so that I could watch all the cutscenes. This was before the days of YouTube, so if you wanted to watch all the cutscenes, you couldn't just go to YouTube and type in Tomb Raider cutscenes and look at all the videos. You actually had to do it within the game. And that's kind of what this movie reminded me of a little bit, was watching a big long movie full of cutscenes. Not saying that's a bad thing, that's just what it reminded me of. For those of you that have played the 2013 Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider, this movie will look pretty familiar. Not so familiar that you're gonna know everything that's gonna happen, but there are definitely scenes and settings and characters that are taken right out of those video games. The ones off the top of my head that I can remember is they take the Trinity organization from Rise of the Tomb Raider.
If Trinity succeeds, our world is in danger.
But a majority of the content comes from the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. From that game, you will see very similar images, such as her jumping from the ship at the beginning. There's running through the jungle with a bow and arrow as the camera follows her from behind. The whole plane scene is taken almost verbatim from the video game. Another thing you'll recognize from the games, she is really good at hanging onto the ledge with just one hand, or her little axe thing. She does it several times in this movie. The basic plot of the movie, which differs a little bit from the video game, is she's trying to find her father. Her father left on this mysterious voyage, this mysterious quest to this island in the middle of the Devil's Sea, and this island supposedly is the home to the Queen of Death, who could kill numerous amounts of people with just the touch of her hand.
That's the one.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
So that's where a majority of this story takes place, is on that island. Lara's looking for her father and also simultaneously trying to solve this mystery of the Queen of Death. But they're not alone on the island. Trinity, the evil organization, is also there, trying to find the Queen of Death to use as a weapon. So most of the movie is her running around the island, trying to do this or that and avoid capture. And then the last part of the movie is her being forced to go through the tomb and escape all the perils there to find the Queen of Death, and then escape from the tomb. So that's what the basic storyline is, and the basic skeleton of what happens in the movie. The only two parts of the movie that I really didn't like was the very beginning and the very end, when we see Lara outside of tomb raiding. And she's, especially at the beginning, she's kind of shown as this streetwise tough girl, and it just doesn't quite click, at least not for me. I compared this film to the video games, and I'm also going to compare it to the first two Tomb Raider movies, the two that starred Angelina Jolie.
Don't start.
And there are some very, very, very big differences between those movies and this movie. The first two Tomb Raider movies They're pretty cheesy.
The future is yours now, Lara. You're the only one with the strength to destroy the power of the light.
And they delved into more of the supernatural aspects of the tomb raiding, where this one tries to ground it in a lot more reality. You're not gonna have a big face-changing statue with a bunch of swords trying to kill people. And you're not gonna have some trans-dimensional travel. You're gonna have a lot more straightforward story where there is a myth, but as they say in the film, all myths start from a basis of truth. And what happens in this movie is the Queen of Death doesn't have magical powers to kill people. She's infected with a disease, a very plague-like disease that kills people very rapidly through skin contact. This is by no means a terribly original film. There were a lot of parts where I'm like, this is really reminding me of another movie, and it actually reminded me a lot of two other movies, and those two movies are Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The setting and some of the more mystical elements of the myth are what reminded me of the Temple of Doom, and some of the traps and stuff.
Willie, hurry!
Ah, shut up, Willie!
Let me in! No, let us out! Let me in! Let us out!
Shut up!
I'm down here! They're all over me!
There's gotta be a fulcrum release lever somewhere!
But really, for the most part, there was a lot of stuff that seemed to be almost taken directly out of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There's a scene that's almost taken verbatim from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And that scene is the reunion scene between child and father. In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Indy finds his father in the Austrian castle, and they have this reunion, and there's the dialogue about, I'm so glad that I sent my book away from you, now it won't fall into Nazi hands, but surprise, surprise, Indy brought the book, and it's now in the Nazis' hands.
I will take the book now.
What book?
You have the diary in your pocket.
You don't. Do you think my son would be that stupid that he would bring my diary all the way back here? You didn't, did you? You didn't bring it, did you?
Well,
You did.
look, can we discuss this later?
I should have mailed it to the Marx brothers. Will you take it easy? Take it easy? Why do you think I sent it home in the first place? So it wouldn't fall into their hands. I came here to save you. Oh, yeah? And who's gonna come to save you, Junior? I told you.
Don't call me Junior.
Look what you did. I can't believe what you did.
That exact same scene happens in Tomb Raider. Lara and her dad are reunited because, surprise, surprise, he's still alive. Didn't see that coming. But they're reunited in a cave, and they have their little reunion, and he's like, I'm so glad I told you to burn all my research, because now they'll never find the entrance to the tomb. And she's like, yeah, I kind of didn't do that. I brought your book with me, and now the bad guy has it, and they know exactly where the opening to the tomb is. Another part that seems to not be lifted directly, but seem to be heavily influenced by The Last Crusade, is to get to the Queen of Death's tomb, there's 3 trials or 3 stages that you have to get through to get to where the Queen's chamber is. In The Last Crusade, there are 3 trials that they have to get through. to get to the lair of the night where the Grail is kept.
He who finds the Grail must face the final challenge.
What final challenge?
3 devices of such lethal cunning.
Booby traps?
Oh, yes. But I found the clues that will safely take us through in the Chronicles of St. Anselm.
And some of them are very, very similar. The first one in Tomb Raider is there's this big chasm that they have to cross. Now, they don't do anything with, you know, a leap of faith. They just throw down a rickety ladder and climb over it. The second one in Tomb Raider is extremely reminiscent of the first one in The Last Crusade, mostly because of the wording of the trial. In Tomb Raider, they're talking about how you have to kneel before the gods or kneel before the ancestors, something like that. And in Last Crusade, the first one is the penitent man kneels before God.
Before God.
And the mechanisms of the trap are different, but that wording is very, very similar. And also, in that kneel before God one in Tomb Raider, where they step on the floor starts falling out from underneath them, just like in The Last Crusade, when it's the word of God, the name of God, and he has to step on the right ones, otherwise the floor is going to fall out from beneath him.
The name of God. Jehovah. But in the Latin alphabet, Jehovah begins with an I. J.
I'm not saying that they copied The Last Crusade, I'm just saying this is what was going through my mind as I was watching these parts. I was like, oh, this is very familiar. Can't put my finger on it, but it's familiar. Another thing that's been swirling around this movie, especially online, is the fact that there's some people out there that don't think Alicia Vikander had the accurate proportions to play Lara Croft.
Yeah, my breasts are not as pointy as the first one.
And that's so stupid. It's so, so stupid. She got into amazing shape for this movie, and she did almost all of the stunts on her own. It's a very, very physically demanding role. And to be able to do all the things that Lara Croft does in this movie, you'd have to be extremely physically fit. And trying to lug around a pair of double Ds while you're jumping from ledge to ledge, they're gonna get in the way, and you're gonna fall and you're gonna die. They do set it up for many, many, many sequels, which will probably be coming in the next few years. This was an origin story for Lara Croft, and now she can be Lara Croft and go on many, many, many more adventures. She even gets her signature pistols at the end of the film in a borderline cringy scene. I mean, it was pushing it.
I'll take 2.
But it all worked. I would recommend this movie. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's just a fun adventure movie, and it's got great performances and a lot of action. So yeah, if you've been thinking about it, check out Tomb Raider.
Absolutely.
This is Lindsay signing off.